broadcasting live from Next Gen Conservative Studios on Junior Factor Nation Radio via Spreaker. And I'm so glad to be here, folks, for another episode of the Whitfield Analysis on Saturday night. And folks, before we get started, I want to bring the audience up to speed on a couple of things, and I've been debating whether or not to talk about this. And folks, this it's not really a topic, but there's been a lot on my mind lately. There's been a lot on my mind lately. Personal stuff that I really didn't think would affect my show that much. But they have. And it's not really anything bad. But it's just something that I do think is going to be a major thing to talk about soon. Anyway, that thing that I want to talk about, folks, again, it's nothing bad, but folks, tonight is the last night that I have my show in this studio where I'm at right now. As most of you know, I am moving to Florida for college, and so we're in the process of packing up my home, and everyone's really busy doing that. And so, again, doesn't really affect the show that much, except for the fact that, I am moving, and I just want to take a couple minutes today to really share with you how much this studio has meant to me. Folks, I've been broadcasting from this current studio here where I am for the last 4.5 out of the 5 years that I've been doing my show. And it's very emotional for me to be moving from a studio that I've been in so long, and it's pretty emotional for me to be leaving the state that I was born in. And folks, it just means so much to me that you have been following me for as long as you have. Some of you have been following me since 2008 when I first started. And, I'm a silly, I'm a silly kid from Colorado, and, a lot of people said that this radio show wasn't going to be successful when it first started out. And 5 years later, I'm still proving them wrong to this day. But it's very bittersweet for me to be moving away. I'm sad to be leaving my childhood home and the state where I was born in practically. But Florida is a great place. I wanted to move there. I've always wanted to move there because the weather is much better there, and also because um, it's easier for me to get around in Florida than it is here. And when you're in a wheelchair, um, folks, the one thing you need to know about me is, although I'm in a wheelchair, I am pretty. I am pretty much independent. Um, I don't let my disability get in my way of my life. I am very self-sufficient. Um, I do need help on like a few small things, but nothing that big. And Florida though just makes life easier, and so that's one of the reasons I'm. That's one of the main reasons why I'm moving, and also because of college. So again, I just want everyone to know, I'm a little sad about moving away from the state that I grew up in, but I'm also very excited. I will be doing a show uh, commemorating my years here in Colorado. We're commemorating the shows start here in Colorado before I leave. I leave on the 25th of August. That's when I moved to Florida. So, and that is a Saturday, so I will have someone filling in for me on that day. Also, I'll mention this. I'll mention this to you right now as well. But I'm actually going on vacation this week. I'm leaving on Tuesday for Michigan, where my grandparents live. We're having a big family reunion up there, and I'll be back on Wednesday. So because of that, Mike Garkar, who, as some of you may know, is starting his own show called Tavern Talk Radio. Here in just a couple weeks, Mike Garkar is going to be filling in for me next Sunday. He and his co-host will be filling in for me next Sunday. I don't know about Saturday yet. Who's filling in for me next Saturday? I'm going to try and get someone to fill in. This is really weird, the timing of it, because everyone on the JFN staff is going on vacation this coming week, it seems like. Jason flew to California yesterday, and so he's on vacation, and I will be filling him in for him on Monday evening, right before I leave, on Tuesday. So he's on vacation, and I'm on vacation, and we both need fill-ins, and Stephanie's busy, so it's pretty much with work. So it's pretty much Caden, Lightit, and Michael Garkar who are left to fill in for us that week. So it's pretty crazy. But we will. But I will let you know probably by tomorrow's show who will be filling in for me and whatnot this coming week. So anyway, just wanted to let you know that, so now that we've gotten the housekeeping done, I can get into some topics. So tonight's the title of my show, and usually I don't title my shows. Usually I don't title my shows. Unlike Jason, just because I can't usually think of any good names for my shows. But tonight's topics are it's all about masculinity and the the state of manliness and the way that men act here in America. And this episode was inspired because on Wednesday night, Factor Talk Radio has a show called Sarcasm Overdose, which is hosted by Elida Loudon. And I, contrary to what Lida thinks, she always says that no one listens to her show, but that's not true. Because I almost always try and listen to her show if I can. So, like, don't be saying that no one ever listens to your show, because that's not true. I try to listen to every show here on Factor Talk Radio as much as possible, and Lida, I missed Lida's live show on Wednesday. But Jason tuned in, and he texted me afterwards and said, "Did you hear it?" And I hadn't, so I went back and played the podcast, and she was talking for like a good 15 to 20 minutes about men here in America and how we've grown up in such a culture where you know where the meaning of what a man is has been so degraded here, and how when she looks for someone to date, she wants someone who's mature and respectful, and not just a boy, but an actual someone who acts like a man. And so that inspired me to talk about manliness and feminism here in America. And but first, I want to play some audio from her show that she did on Wednesday. I'm going to play her 10-minute bit on men here in America, because I really feel like she does a really good job of explaining how she feels about men and what actual manliness is here in America, and what the role of women here in America is too. It's dead on, it's spot accurate, and it was really enjoyable to listen to. So without further ado, here's some audio from my colleague, Lida Loudon. This comes from her show that she did on Wednesday evening, talking about men here in America and uh, what she looks for uh, in a potential boyfriend. Yeah. Anyway, here's the audio. I'll shut up now so that you can listen to her. And then I have some interesting commentary on this. So here's Light Loudon on Wednesday. Cut number 1. Go. Is the clip over? Yeah, I guess it's over. I was. Whenever I play long audio clips like that, I always end up like Facebooking Jason or doing other work on my computer, kind of doing like in the middle of show prep, while I talk about well the clip is playing. But anyway, the reason I play that clip, ladies and gentlemen, is because Lida. Well, first of all, there are lots of people. Lots of people. I feel like lots of people tend to get the wrong idea about me in the sense that like I've had other oh, how should I put this? I've had other female conservative colleagues before who are also teenagers, and oftentimes a lot of my friends at school who aren't really involved in politics at all. This was funny. One of them, right around the time, uh, right around the time Lida joined JFN, he was this friend of mine was looking at our website, and he he men he mentioned to me. Uh, he said, "Man, Sam, I can understand why you enjoy working at Junior Factor Nation. I mean, Stephanie, and then that new girl. I now I'm quoting him, but he said that new girl is also pretty cute too. Uh, so yeah, I can understand why. And folks, Uh, I had to chuckle. Honestly, um, with all due respect, Lyda and Stephanie both, I think, are very attractive young women, and I think they both give me hope for that not all young women in my generation are bad, and I'll get to that in a little bit, but I respect them both deeply. Um, I think they're both attractive. Um, if we weren't colleagues, if we weren't professional colleagues, I think maybe I would be more interested in them for dating potentially. But since they're professional colleagues, uh, I like to keep it that way. I do consider them to be friends. You know, I'm friendly towards them, and I both consider them uh, friends. But like, I don't feel like attracted to them. If that makes any sense. I don't want them to like be listening to this later on and being be like messaging me claiming that I don't like them, because like I do like them, just not in a romantic way. So anyway, I'm gonna quit talking about that. Otherwise I will say something that I'll regret. But anyway, the point being, the reason why I play this clip is Lyda actually gets men, genuine men, and this is a topic that I'm gonna come back after commercial break, and I'm gonna go on a quick 2-minute commercial break, and when we come back, I'm going to talk about the state of manliness in this nation, because I think it is an important topic to cover, and it's not necessarily political, but I do think real men are essential to the survival of this country. So anyway, let me go to a quick commercial break, and then I'll come back. So yeah, you're listening to the Whitfield Analysis, and I will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Alright, folks, welcome back to the program. So, today's topic, we're talking about the state of manliness here in America. And during the last segment, I played clips from, I played a clip from Lyda Loudon's show, Sarcasm Overdose. And she was talking about what she prefers in men who she wants to date, simply put. And she talks about how there's a difference between boys and men. And how boys, she didn't say this, but I will say this. Based on what I know, this is kind of my commentary now. Folks, we live, I hate to say this, but we live in an era where the definition of manliness as defined by pop culture has really been skewed. And it's true manliness here in America has really been shunned by pop culture, by Hollywood, by the mainstream media, and you hear on the news all the time, and I hear this on the street, people are always asking where are the real men here? Where are the real men in America? They've all disappeared. Well, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily true that all of the real men here in America have disappeared. I think the culture of true manliness, what it truly means to be a man, has really, like I said, been desecrated, and it's been demoralized pretty much ever since the late 60s. Now, okay, let me start off by saying this. At first, I want to address what some of the stereotypes of what manliness is, and this is I actually at one point I actually did a survey on this for school. It wasn't like a classroom assignment, but I did a survey of some of my male peers at school, and asked them what they thought being a man meant. And I don't mean to get graphic here, folks, but I honestly have to tell you that a lot of these boys, a lot of these guys who I went to school with in high school, they think that your manliness is determined by is either determined by how many women or how many girls you can quote unquote score with, and how big your penis size is. And again, I don't mean to be graphic, but that's essentially one of the big things that defines quote-unquote manliness here in America, or at least in my generation. My generation has, here's how my generation, in terms of straight men, here's how the stereotype has gone. Now, I'm not saying this is how all men in my generation think, but this is kind of the stereotype that Hollywood and the media and pop culture has kind of thrust upon us. Okay? And this is really this is one of the reasons why I absolutely could not stand high school and could not stand being in the public school system. One of the stereotypes is, um, the more women you sleep with in high school, the more popular you become. The more popular you become, the more successful you become. The more successful you become, the happier you are. But it all depends, you see, on how many women you've slept with. Also, how hot they are. Nothing about like what their personality types are. Nothing about uh what their interests are. But mainly, um, like you know, again, I hate to be graphic, but like what size their rack is. And folks, if I need to explain, because I'm always going to get some dumb liberal commenting, "Oh, Sam, what do you mean by what's a rack size?" First of all, A, I know you're screwing with me if you ask me that question. B, if you honestly don't know what that term means, go to urbandictionary.com and look it up. But honestly, like that's one of the big that was one of the big stereotypes in high school. Was you need to have a big, you need to have like, you need to have large junk, and you need you need to sleep with multiple women, and they all need to have giant racks, and if they do, you'll be happy. Now, folks, do not misunderstand. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with women that have big racks. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with guys who have big junk. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. But what I do have a problem with is so many of young women in my generation and so many guys in my generation think that that's all that matters in a female now, and it's not. Um, Folks, I honestly have to tell you, back in high school, there were lots of uh, good-looking women and lots of women who, did have big boobs and who were well endowed and who were very beautiful on the outside, but they were, well, I'm just gonna say it. They had bad personalities, and uh, they were they were sexually attractive, but they were complete and total uh, whores in terms of personalities. They didn't respect men. They didn't respect themselves, and lots of these women were and still are very attractive. And lots of my friends, or lots of my quote unquote friends, I should say, because my real friends in high school know what I'm like, but lots of my quote unquote friends were like, "Oh, Sam, you're a good, you're a really good looking guy. Uh, and just because you're in a wheelchair, that doesn't mean anything. Why don't you? You need to get laid. You need to get laid, man. Th- there are enough of these girls to go around for all of us. And and whatnot. And basically the whole message I got in high school from like the majority of um got from the majority of my quote unquote friends was uh just do her. Not just do it like the Nike slogan, but just do her. And I was told that if I did that, I would become popular, um, and whatnot. Now, I also have to tell you that there were lots of girls. So I'm not gonna lie. In my high school in Colorado, um, lots pretty much all the girls in my high school were well endowed. Okay, pretty much like the vast majority of them. But like I said, some of them were dirt bags, but that were like no, dirt bag is what I call other guys. I'm sorry. Some of the girls were really like mean, but some of the other girls were really really nice, but they had dirt bags for boyfriends. And I'm probably going I'm probably going to get a couple of angry uh, messages tonight on Facebook, or uh, or in reverse, I might get some messages from some girls saying that I had no idea you liked me. But one of the things that always really bothered me too was right. I'm surrounded in high school with all of these beautiful girls, and some of them were well endowed. Like I said, practically all of the girls in my high school were well endowed and whatnot. But like lots of them were also pretty nice. But the one thing I could never understand is the nice ones had really cruel boyfriends. And they had boyfriends who, like I said, they were lots of the typical guys who, uh, in my generation, who just wanted to screw them, but didn't really care about their emotions. And a lot of these girls, I remember I had lunch with a gal one time who I desperately liked, and uh who I think at some level liked me. But I remember I was having lunch with her, and she started talking to me about her boyfriend, who was a year older than her. This was my senior year. Uh, but I remember she was talking to her boyfriend, who was already in college, and how she and her boyfriend would fight all the time, and how he was a jerk, and how he didn't really seem to care about any emotions. And so I asked her, I said, why don't you just break up with him? He seems like he seems like a really, really bad guy. And then she went 180 and said, oh no, well he for the most part he's a really nice guy. But we fight all the time, he's not always a nice guy, but you know, he's my boyfriend, and I I want to make him happy, and um, he's not that bad, and whatnot, and so I became really perplexed uh, because like I would think that if a guy was being like really cruel to a girl, that they'd break up. And like not to bring up my personal issues too much, but that was one thing that really up until I graduated I could never understand. And like I had a friend who really um I had a friend who really explained it to me, which is a lot of women want the badass guys, quote unquote. They want the guys who are quote unquote badass because they think that'll be good, but in reality, a lot of these guys just treat them badly, and I didn't really realize that until after I graduated high school. But again, going back to my original topic, uh, this brings me back to my point that the definition of manliness here in America has been so skewed and so uh, completely demoralized. And you want my definition of what a real man should be? A real man treats women with respect and um, dignity and honor. And I just lost my train of thought. Brain freeze. Hold on a sec. I'm also in the middle of like trying to read all of these comments that you guys left in the chat, or most of you guys. It's been pretty interesting. We have Zach, we have Andrew, we have Michael, and any comments from the peanut gallery, as I would call you guys, what you think of what I'm saying so far. I do want your input, so yeah, Andrew says I think you need a new place to move. I think you need a new place to do your show, Sam. It's getting really, it was getting really noisy back there. Yeah, Andrea, I know that. As I explained in the beginning of the program, folks, I apologize, but we're in the middle of moving. We're going to be moving to Florida, and um, so we're moving a whole bunch of things, and people keep coming up and down. stairs in the basement. And for those of you watching my live stream camera, pay no attention to the people in the background. Honestly, don't. And Zach, my whole entire family is moving, and we're moving to Florida. So, and I'll explain. I explained that in like the first 10 minutes of the show. So look that up in archive. But anyway, as I was saying, folks, the definition of manliness here in America has been greatly diminished. And like I said, I think the big stereotype that the majority of men in my generation have grown up with is that men need to have large junk and whatnot in order to uh, be successful and whatnot, and and whatnot. And anyway, so I'm going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I'm going to talk about actually why the decline in manliness has occurred. So I'll be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Whitfield Analysis, and anyway, we'll be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Next Gen Conservative Radio and Junior Factor Nation Radio. We'll be right back, folks. Hold on. Welcome back to the program, folks. You want to talk about a manly man, a real man? Let's talk about Jimmy Z, shall we? Very masculine gentleman. Uh, he has a very deep voice, as you just heard right there. And he is the true man's man. Loves rock and roll, loves beautiful women, but respects them. Uh, and there are just so many elements to Jimmy Z. He is a true man and a true gentleman, and I mean that in the most sincere way. And he's a strong Christian man. And I feel so blessed to have him as a friend and colleague. If you haven't checked out his show, please do so. TheJimmyZShow.com. Please check him out. And again, truly great gentleman. And I actually consider Jimmy to be a mentor. When I started my podcast 5 years ago, my very first podcast, the Whitfield Nation, he was doing his internet radio show at the time was on Blog Talk Radio, and so I never really talked to him, but I listened to him and whatnot. Then he left Blog Talk Radio and started the Jimmy Z Show, but for some reason I never found that link, so I lost touch with him. And then recently, within like the past year, when I found Jason and Caden, I also found Jimmy Z again. So yay, I'm happy about that. But anyway, so last hour we were talking about manliness. We've been talking about manliness today, and how this generation has been fed this absurd lie. The males of my generation have been fed this insane lie, ladies and gentlemen, that if you're a guy and if you have a big penis, and if you score lots of women, and if they're hot women, that's going to equal success. And that's a load of bull. And but yet that's what my generation has been taught. Basically, what my generation has been taught is that all men are good for are sex. That's it. When you get down to it, brass tacks, that's what the message that my generation has been told here in America by Hollywood and the pop culture. All men are good for here in America is sex, and that is so not true. Now, how did this start? Well, you may be surprised. First of all, do any of you want to take a guess in the chat room as to how this started? I'll wait a couple minutes. I'll wait, but if you could type out your answers, that would be great. So, do 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 do. Do 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 do. I really had to find the Jeopardy thing to play in the sound effects. Let's see. Nope, no one has any answers for me yet. Okay, well, I will tell you what the answer is. The answer to why the answer to why this decline in manliness has happened here in America is because, believe it or not, feminism. Yes, Andrew hit it right on the head. Andrew Allen writes the 60s and the feminist movement. Yes, Andrew, you hit it right on the head. That is the cause of that is the cause of the decline of manliness. And let me explain how. Prior to the feminist movement in the 1960s, the vast majority of men were the 60s and the 50s and prior to that. Andrew writes, sorry folks, Andrew writes, what do I win? Andrew, you win. You win my official gratitude and my everlasting friendship and my thanks. Oh wait, you already have all those. No. Anyway, all of this started with the the deterioration of manliness here in America. I believe started when the feminist movement really took hold here in America. And let me explain this. I know I'm going to get a whole bunch of feminazis who will probably petition for my show to get pulled from Spreaker, but at this point I don't really care because this needs to be said. But I believe that the decline of manliness started during the feminist movement era. And let me explain why. Prior to the 1960s, men lived in a world where men could be men and women could be women, where women were women, and there was none of this. There was none of this gender confusion, like women can do equally good as men. There was none of this self-righteous feminist bull that said that women were equal to men, if not in certain ways superior. Now, okay, now do not misunderstand. I do believe that women are equal to men in certain ways. I believe that that women can hold executive positions in companies. I believe that women can be successful business people. And I believe that if a woman wants to learn how to operate heavy machinery or do factory work or learn how to use power tools, more power to them. Alright, and the early feminist movement was all about women in the workplace and eliminating sexual harassment. And that I don't really have a problem with. The point where it really starts to irritate me to no end is the feminist movement at some point or another said that women are actually vastly superior to men, and men are pigs, and men are sexists, and men are cruel for being men, and all of this stuff that is just not true. They basically, and what the feminist movement did, and quite successfully, is they insinuated that women are so equal to men that in some sense they're better than men, so why are men needed at all? And folks, that is when the divorce rate skyrocketed in this country. That's when women were burning their bras and uh, dressing more like men. I'm talking about the neo-feminists. That's when the lesbian movement really started to flourish too. This whole idea that men are inferior, actually. And don't get me wrong, I believe that the feminist movement in terms of work, in terms of the workplace, had some very positive consequences, equal pay and whatnot. But I also believe that the feminist movement had some dire consequences. And one of these consequences, at first, it might not make sense to you. But the more and more you think about it, the more it makes sense. So here's what happened in a nutshell. The feminist movement basically said, screw all men, women are better than men, women are equal to men in every way, and we're actually superior. So then, as generations went by, men grew up with this idea that, hey, women are exactly equal to me in every which way. Oh, so I don't really need to be a man anymore. I don't really need to be a man. So I'm just going to remain childish and immature, and now they weren't thinking about this like consciously. Men weren't thinking this like consciously, but subconsciously this is what was happening. Oh, the manly virtues. The classical gentleman was absolutely destroyed by the feminist movement. They hated the classical man. They painted the classical man, the modest gentleman, the hard-working man, as a threat to females. So they tried getting rid of that stereotype. And that led to the decline of manliness. So what happened, basically, the manliness that America had prior to the 1960s disappeared, and men who grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and even today, the vast majority of them are either, well, I don't want to say the vast majority, but a lot of them have grown up without strong father figures, because also the feminist movement eliminated the father figure presence. Father figures aren't needed. Mom can raise the kids all by herself and do a good job, if not better. Why are men needed to raise children? Men aren't needed at all. Not true. But they got rid of the father figure, and so combined with the destruction of the good and decent man, along with the destruction of the father figure, putting it in simplest terms, that's how the American man was destroyed. Now, there are a whole bunch of other complexities about it that I've read about and stuff that I really don't have time to go into on this show. But folks, I am convinced that the radical feminist movement destroyed the American male in this country. And I'm sorry, but if any of you feminists out there, I know some of you are probably listening to this broadcast and going, that Sam Whitfield, he's just a man. What the hell does he know? He's a sexist pig. What does he know? Folks, if you don't believe that feminism destroyed the American male, please tell me what did. Tell me what destroyed the American male. Because honestly, every time I analyze it, radical feminism is the answer. There's no denying it. There's absolutely no denying it. And so, what do we need to do to restore manliness in this country? Well, I have a few answers to that, and I will get to those right after the break. I know I'm taking lots of breaks today, but this is a very critical show, a very deep show, and so I want commercial breaks to kind of give you time to digest what I'm saying. So, anyway, we'll be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere. And you're listening to the Whitfield Analysis, and I am the analyzer, and a very masculine analyzer at that. Be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere. Thanks, Jimmy. Well, folks, I'm back. You're listening to the Whitfield Analysis. And we've been talking about manliness here in America. And how it's basically been declining. Just to kind of give a sum up so far of the show. First half hour I talked. Well, I played a clip of Lyda Loudon talking about men and what true manliness means to her. And then I talked about how my generation and when I was in high school, I was pressured by a lot of my high school peers. I don't really want to call them friends because these people weren't really my friends, but they pressured me just to hook up with random girls and whatnot. Then last segment, which was a pretty long one, I talked about how I believe the feminist movement is primarily responsible for denigrating the image of American manliness here in America. And before I go on, right before I cut to commercial break, I mentioned before I cut to commercial break, I mentioned I believe that radical feminism is also responsible for the destruction of the father figure, and why so many dads are absent in their kids' lives. And it's because, you know, the feminist movement basically taught that women can raise kids better on their own than with the help of a man. And Barbara Jean in the chat room actually said she agrees with me on that. And over the commercial break, I asked her why, and I don't see a response yet, so I'm waiting for that. I'll keep checking. I'll keep checking the chat on that as it nears further and further. But anyway, so now I want to talk about how manliness, how true manliness gets restored here in America. And folks, it's actually going to be a lot easier than you think because there's a blog and a very successful website called theartofmanliness.com. And now, before I go into what the art of manliness is, I just have to say that the Art of Manliness does not sponsor Junior Factor Nation. They do not sponsor the Whitfield Analysis or Cowgirl Nation or any of the other websites. They are not a sponsorship of this program. So this is not a promotional advertisement for them. But this is me talking about one of the blogs that I visit and actually participate in pretty often. So anyway, just to make it clear that this is not for promotional use, although I guess in a way I am giving them free promotion. But point being that they don't sponsor this program or any of the other blogs, so I'm not doing this for that purpose. I am spreading the art of I am telling you about the Art of Manliness website because I genuinely believe that it is one of the best websites for men's lifestyle and one of the best websites for being a man. So, folks, the art of manliness. The art, the art of manliness. Oh, excuse me. I had a gaffe there. Time to drink more water. Folks, my allergies for some reason are driving me insane. Today. So. Anyway. And, but I'm just checking the chat room. And Barb says in her chat, I don't believe that the movement caused women to think they could raise a family better alone. Well, again, Barb, I love you. Well, we all love you as far as an audience member goes, but again, you're going to have to explain that. Anyway, like I said, though, the art of manliness was started by a young man named Brett McKay, and he started it back in January of 2008. And I'm going to read this to you from their About page on the Art of Manliness. So this is the About page on the Art of Manliness. So the title of this is Why the Art of Manliness. And Brett writes, my idea for the Art of Manliness came about as I was standing in a Borders bookstore looking at the men's magazine. It seemed to me that the content in these magazines were continually going downhill, with more and more articles about sex and how to get six-pack abs. Was this all there was to being a man? And as I looked around at the men my age, it seemed to me that many were shirking responsibility and refusing to grow up. They had lost confidence. They had lost the confidence, focus, skills, and virtues that men of the past had embodied and were a little lost. The feminism movement did some great things, but it also made men confused about their role and no longer proud of these virtues of manliness. This, coupled with the fact that many men were raised without the influence of a good father, had left a generation adrift as to what it means to be an honorable, well-rounded man. Thus, why I believe the feminist movement was directly responsible for getting rid of the father figure. That right there, and I will read this again. That, coupled with the fact that many men were raised without the influence of a good father, had left the generation adrift as to what it means to be an honorable man. And that's all due to the feminist movement, ladies and gentlemen. The radical feminist movement. But anyway. So he continues on. Talking about honorable manliness was, to me, a niche seemingly not covered on the web or elsewhere. And I decided to start the Art of Manliness to talk about all things manly, both the serious and the fun, but with the ultimate eye towards encouraging readers to be better husbands, fathers, brothers, and men. I do not claim to have all the answers, nor do I claim that I'm an expert on all things manly. I started this blog not because I had all the answers to being a man, but because I wanted to explore the questions with other men. Thankfully, I have found a whole community of men who wish to discover the lost art of manliness too. So folks, that is why the Art of Manliness got started. And they have some really, really neat articles. They have some really neat articles, uh, some of which are fun and like playing cards and different, like how to make different drinks. And then they have really practical ones too, like how to buy a tailored suit, how to get a good deal on a suit at a thrift store, stuff like that. But then they also have serious ones like dating and being a father and how to be a good husband and marriage. So it's a very good website, and you want the answer to how we fix manliness here in America, folks. Go to the manliness.com and read the articles that they have up there. I'm not saying that's the sole. That's not how we fix it. The manliness culture problem entirely. But I do believe that they provide some excellent guidance on how to start restoring the virtues of manliness. Here's what I believe, though. Before I cut to commercial break, men have to start realizing that we're more than just sexual beings. Now, don't get me wrong. Sex, I believe, is one of the many great pleasures that men can experience. God created the act of sex be pleasurable for both men and women. But when that becomes all that men are good for, then that becomes a big problem. Men need to really take back the manly virtues and realize what it means to be a good father, a good husband, a good brother, and a good son, for that matter. Men need to learn how to become strong and virtuous leaders again. And most importantly, we need to learn again how to become God-fearing men as a culture. And how to admit when we're weak in what areas, and we need to strive to improve ourselves, because otherwise we are lost. And I do believe that the Art of Manliness is a great guide to help to jumpstart the revival of manliness again. So anyway, folks, check out that website, theartofmanliness.com. Go read them. Subscribe to the daily newsletter. It's chock full. Some of them are very serious. Some of them are fun. Join the forum. I'm on there. And it's just a great website. So check them out. artofmanliness.com. Folks, when we come back, I have to address a few political issues today, mostly having to deal with audio sound bites from Rush Limbaugh. But anyway, folks, I will be right back. You're listening to the Whitfield Analysis. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Alright, folks, welcome back to the program. So, this is a political talk show. And I do want to talk about some political issues today in the remainder of the program. The first topic that I do want to cover real quick. Actually, while we're still on the issue of manliness and feminism here in America, let me play for you. I've got a couple audio sound bites from Rush Limbaugh that I want to play for you. These are how I'm gonna open the various topics. So, while we're on the topic of manliness and feminism still, let me play this clip from Al Rushbow talking about sexual groping in politics. This is pretty interesting. Now, folks, before I play this clip, I do want to tell you that there is an advertisement at the beginning of each of these audio sound bites that I play for you. This is Rush's morning update, and that some of the station affiliates get that carry his show, and this website WABC allows for the morning update to be downloaded as a free podcast by their listeners. So anyway, here it is. This is Rush talking about how there is sexual misconduct in politics again, and this is very, very interesting. Let's take a listen, and then I'll address this. I did not have sex with that woman, not a single time. I did not have sex with that woman, not a single time. But Hillary, oh, I love her so much. Hillary is the most loving wife any man could ask for, and you know, I just I feel so bad that I had to put her through that. She's also very good in bed. Very, very, very good in bed. And, wow. Usually my Bill Clinton imitation, folks, is a lot better. But because of my allergies, today, my sick, perverted Bill Clinton impersonation, isn't as good as it usually is. Anyway, though, that is one thing I wanted to cover. Have you ever noticed that the vast majority of these sex scandals are, uh, well, there's no easy way for me to say this uh, without it sounding dirty, but have you ever noticed that all of these like sexual scandals are being performed by liberals? Have you ever noticed that the vast majority of them are uh, are performed by liberals? I mean, they're the ones with their pants down constantly, and just keeping in line with what we were talking about with feminism a little for the vast majority of the program today. Uh, I will say this: I find it funny that the Democrats are supposedly the ones, who are in full support of the radical feminist movement, and yet they're always the ones uh, getting caught with their pants down around their ankles. Just saying. Anyway, next clip is about, next clip from El Rush, though, is Rush talking about, uh, oh, what is this? Rush talking about Obamacare, and this is something that I've been meaning to talk about for quite a number of weeks. I'll probably get into this more tomorrow when I get more audio assembled, but Rush's take on Obamacare so far has been absolutely dead on accurate. Anyway, so let me play this clip for you. This is Rush Limbaugh talking about Obamacare on the morning update. Again, there will be a quick ad, but nevertheless, it should be good still. So anyway, folks, let's take a listen. Ugh, I don't want to print this. Okay, here's cut number 3. Rush talking about Obamacare on the morning update. Go. By the way, folks, I get chills down my spine whenever I hear that little outro riff that Rush has. I'm going to find a way to edit that because it's just so cool. Maybe I'll use that as my text message alert. I don't know. Anyway, Obamacare. The reason I'm playing all of these clips from El Rushbo today is, man, it's just an El Rushbo type of day. What can I say? That pure and simple, I love Rush Limbaugh in the most heterosexual way. He is one of the most cunning talk show hosts. He is the godfather of conservative talk radio. And there is no one else quite like him. Anyway, Obamacare. My stepdad and I were actually listening to Rush today while we were eating lunch, and Rush was talking about how this is from yesterday's show. I was listening to the Rush 24/7 podcast, which I subscribe to. But Rush was talking about how the Republicans, how the American people are getting really, on both sides, the vast majority of Americans who finally understand what Obamacare is doing do not want Obamacare now. They don't want it. And it's driving the American people totally crazy. They really just don't want it now. And Rush said, I guess this, folks, and I agree with Rush on this one, but this is the Republicans' chance to really align themselves with the vast majority of the American people and say, we don't agree with Obamacare, we still want it repealed, and whatnot. The American people have spoken, they're not happy about it, so we're going to repeal Obamacare. But instead, the GOP establishment has said, well, it's signed into law now, and there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do about it. Sorry, it's Obamacare has been passed into law now, and we might not like it, but it's law now, so there's nothing we can do about it. And that's what the GOP establishment is saying now, ladies and gentlemen. And folks, I honestly, I can't, I don't. There's a part of me when I first heard that, I honestly sat back in my chair and said, what's going on? Why are they talking like this? And folks, all I am going to say to this is 2014. 2014. The Republicans need to win in 2014. There's no other way to put it now. The Republicans absolutely need to win in 2014, the House and the Senate, because right now the Democrats have the White House, the Democrats have the Supreme Court. I mean, I mean, let's be serious. The vast majority of the Supreme Court justices are liberal, ladies and gentlemen. So they have the White House, they have the Supreme Court, and they have the Senate. And so what's happening is all of the conservative bills, all of the bills passed by, Tea Party conservatives in the House are virtually being scrapped in the Senate. They're not really been being looked at. I mean, I know they are because it's required that they look at them, but you know what I mean, folks. That they're virtually being tossed out. They're virtually being tossed out, and so the Republicans really aren't able to do anything. And again, it's time to get the moderates out of the Republican Party. John McCain, Lindsey Graham, John Boehner, or as I used to call him back before I knew how to pronounce his name correctly, John Boner. It's time to get all the moderates out of the GOP, folks. Otherwise, we won't be able to do a damn thing. Now, some of you folks may be saying, "Well, Sam, what about a third party?" And folks, I've explained this before, on my program. Mike Garkar and I talked about this in depth and great detail the last time I had him on my show during our interview. But Mike said that a third party is the worst thing for the conservative movement right now because it will just continue to further split the vote, and then the Democrats will continue to win, and we can't have that. And so, believe me, folks, I'm not a fan of the Republican Party, but until we get, see, folks, it's not so much that we need more conservative Tea Party candidates and politicians in the Republican Party. It's that we need the moderates to get out of the Republican Party so we can get more Tea Partiers in. It's not going to matter how many Tea Party conservatives we get into the Republican Party, as long as we have the excess amount of moderates in the party that we do. We're not going to be able to do a damn thing. We're just not going to be able to. And until we get some more strong conservatives, the Republicans are not going to be willing to repeal Obamacare. And until that happens, America is screwed. And I will have more on Obamacare tomorrow, folks, in tomorrow's program. I don't have time to cover it in the remaining 57 minutes or so, according to the clock on Spreaker. But in reality, we only have like 10 more minutes. So, anyway, as I was saying, so that's Rush's take on Obamacare. And one last clip and one last topic. This is Rush on Detroit. Now, folks, I mentioned that my grandparents live in northern Michigan. Not really Detroit, but that's where I am headed for vacation this coming week. I do have some commentary. It's not very long on Detroit, but I do want to play this clip from Rush on Detroit because I do believe that he brings up some excellent points. So, anyway, here is Rush on the state of Detroit. Let's take a listen. Cut number 4. Let me insert this into the queue and then we'll listen. Alright, this is Rush on Detroit. Go. Man, the Detroit situation, ladies and gentlemen, is just absolutely, it's sad. It really is sad. Detroit used to be a very teeming city, teeming with life. It's where the American auto industry truly started. Where Motown and soul and jazz, a lot of jazz started there, and whatnot. There are good people in Detroit, ladies and gentlemen, but ever since the left has taken over in Detroit, it's been nothing but chaos. The state is liberally controlled. Let Detroit be a lesson to you of how the left runs things. And when I mean how the left run things, I mean that they're running Detroit into the ground, folks. Detroit is bankrupt, and now we're being forced to bail them out, or we're going to be. Make no mistake, sooner or later we will be forced to bail Detroit out. The rest of the country will. So I'm just sending my prayers to Detroit, and I urge you to do the same to the people. And anyway, folks, that is my commentary on Detroit, and folks, that is my show for today. So, folks, I hope you all enjoyed my talk on manliness today. I hope it was very informative to you. I hope that you think about what I was talking about. We need to restore manliness, and what real manliness here in America means. I do believe we can do it. I do believe we will do it. But manliness is one of the key things that we have to restore in order to restore this nation. So anyway, folks, I'll be back tomorrow for my final broadcast before I go on vacation, and I will have some info for you regarding who's filling in for me tomorrow. If I can't get someone to fill in for me tomorrow, I will do a pre-recorded show and upload it. So, anyway, folks, without further ado, God bless America, and God save this country. From all of us here at Junior Factor Nation, have a good night and God bless. Good night, folks.